Have you ever tried a case to a verdict before a jury?
Senator, I've worked on a bench trial, and as a federal law clerk, I handled 7 trials.
I was a federal law clerk as well. I wouldn't say that I handled the trials. I think the judge handled the trials. But let me ask you about your experience with the bench trial. Were you the lead counsel in that case?
No, Senator, I was part of a small team of attorneys.
And were you the senior associate counsel on the case?
Yes, Senator, I was an associate on the case. There were 4 attorneys on the case. I was responsible for helping prepare witnesses, helping second chair depositions. I also took a deposition myself. I cross-examined a witness at trial, and I was responsible for all the pre-trial and post-trial briefing, findings of facts, conclusions of law.
Of the 4 attorneys, how many were more senior to you on that team?
Senator, I believe 2. There were several people who came in to assist, but again, my responsibilities, I was the primary drafter for all the briefing.
No, I heard that. I just want to understand. So your trial experience consists of being the second or third senior lawyer on a bench trial?
Senator, yes.
There is a principle America says it believes in: meritocracy, the best person for the job, qualifications, experience, track record, the idea that the most powerful positions in the most powerful country on earth should be filled by the most capable people available. This video is about what is actually happening instead. Across the federal judiciary, the cabinet, the intelligence agencies, the law enforcement apparatus, the Trump administration has installed a consistent pattern. The qualification being selected for is not competence, it's not experience, it is not independence of judgment. It is loyalty. And the consequences of that choice for the courts, for national security, for public health, for the rule of law belong to the American people, not to the people being installed. So first I'm going to talk about the courts' lifetime appointments. Federal judges in the United States serve for life. There is no retirement age, no term limit. A federal judge confirmed at 34 years old could be shaping American law for 50 years. The American Bar Association has evaluated judicial nominees since 1953 through Republican and Democratic administrations. The standard is that nominees should ordinarily have at least 12 years of experience in the practice of law before being considered for the federal bench. It is not an ideological standard, it is a competency flaw. So let's look at some recent nominees. Whitney Hermendorfer, position, Federal District Court, lifetime appointment. Experience at nomination, was admitted to the Virginia Bar 2015, under 10 years experience at nomination. Confirmed? Yes, 2025. Joshua Devine, position, Federal District Court, another potential lifetime appointment. Experience at nomination, law degree 2016, 9 years of experience, called himself a zealot on abortion, argued for literary tests at ballot box. Senator Durbin asked, where does that come from? It comes from the era of Jim Crow. Confirmed? Yes, 2025, age 34. And next, Matthew Peterson, first term was 2017, position Federal District Court, another lifetime appointment. Experience, could not answer what a motion in limine is during Senate hearing, had never tried a case or argued a motion in state or federal court. Was he confirmed? Ultimately withdrew, but White House defended him even after the hearing.
You can just raise your hand on this one, if you will, to save a little time. Have any of you not tried a case to verdict in a courtroom? Mr. Pitch. Have you ever tried a jury trial?
I have not.
Civil?
No.
Criminal?
No.
Bench?
No.
State or federal court?
I have not.
Okay. Have you ever taken a deposition?
I was involved in taking depositions when I was associate at Wiley Ryan when I first came out of law school. But that was.
Have you ever? How many depositions?
I would. I'd be struggling to remember. But
less than 10.
Yes.
Less than 5.
Probably somewhere in that range.
Have you ever tried taking a deposition by yourself?
I believe no.
Okay. Have you ever argued a motion in state court?
I have not.
Have you ever argued a motion in federal court?
No.
The next nominee, Stephen Gratz, first term 2017, position US Court of Appeals, another lifetime appointment. His experience at nomination, ABA gave unanimous not qualified rating, confirmed 58 to 48 along party lines. Confirmed? Yes, despite unanimous not qualified rating. During Trump's first term, 10 judicial nominees were rated not qualified by the American Bar Association. 8 of the 10 were confirmed by the Republican Senate anyway. During Trump's second term, the administration removed the ABA from its pre-nomination vetting process entirely. The way to solve that is not to find a better nominee, apparently, but to get rid of the American Bar Association. The standard was not raised, it was eliminated. Senator Adam Schiff, a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, has been one of the most consistent voices on what is actually being selected for. Writing of Kash Patel's nomination to lead the FBI, Schiff stated that Patel was, quotes, willing to do whatever Trump asks, illegal, unethical, or otherwise. That is the criterion, willingness to comply, not competence to lead. A lifetime judicial appointment is the most durable mechanism in American democracy for embedding a political agenda. A president serves 4 years. A Congress turns over every 2. A federal judge appointed at 34 may still be issuing rulings in 2076. The question of who is being appointed and on what basis is not a procedural question. It is a question about what America will look like for 50 years. Next, I'll talk about the cabinet and loyalty over competence. So first, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, former Fox News weekend host, no senior defense management experience. Pentagon employs 2.9 million people. As a sexual assault allegation, paid $50,000 settlement, abusive behavior allegation from former sister-in-law, Senators Collins, Murkowski, and McConnell all voted against. In office, fired Joint Chiefs Chairman General C.Q. Brown, the second African-American to hold the job, and Admiral Lisa Franchetti, the first woman to lead the Navy, without explanation. Fired or sidelined at least 24 generals and admirals, renamed the Pentagon the Department of War, now which is March 2026, blocked the promotions of 4 Army officers, 2 black men and 2 women, to 1-star general level. Army Secretary Daniel Driscoll refused Hegseth requests for months. Hegseth then unilaterally struck their names. One officer was targeted for writing papers years ago explaining why black soldiers tend to choose support roles. Another was targeted for serving under the 2021 Afghanistan withdrawal. Under military policy, the Defense Secretary is only supposed to approve or reject the entire promotion list to prevent discrimination. Removing individual names may be illegal. The Pentagon response, Meritocracy, which reigns in this department, is apolitical and unbiased. The current chairman and vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs, all 5 service chiefs, and 9 of the 10 combatant chiefs are white men. Confirmed 50-50, Vice President Vance cast the tiebreaker. Only the second time in history a vice president has broken the tie on a cabinet nominee. Next, Kash Patel, FBI Director. No law enforcement experience. No experience running a 35,000 personnel agency. Bill Barr, Trump's own former Attorney General, wrote in 2022, the idea of appointing Patel showed, quote, a shocking detachment from reality. Published a book with an appendix listing Trump perceived enemies. They were confirmed. Senators Durbin and Schiff led Democratic opposition on qualifications grounds. Next, Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence, met with Assad in 2017, declared he was, quote, not the enemy, expressed skepticism Assad used chemical weapons on his own people at confirmation hearing, repeatedly refused to say whether Edward Snowden was a traitor. Intelligence community raised formal alarm. She was confirmed despite bipartisan concern and intelligence community objection. Next, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Secretary of Health and Human Services. 77 Nobel Prize winners signed a letter opposing his nomination. Trump's own former FDA commissioner said having Kennedy in charge, quote, will cost lives. Claims vaccines cause autism with no scientific basis. The Wall Street Journal said he would, quote, disrupt access to life-saving medicines. He was confirmed despite Republican doctors and scientists opposing him. Linda McMahon, former WWE executive with no educational policy experience. Allegations of complicity in grooming and exploitation, has denied the allegations. Primary credentials, major Trump donor, and head of Trump-aligned think tank. She's confirmed. Next, I'll talk about the promotion list. 1 week before this script was completed, the New York Times and NPR confirmed a story that makes the Hegseth qualification argument concrete and specific. 4 Army officers, career soldiers with decades of service, were on track to be promoted to Brigadier General, the rank of 1-star general. They were on the promotions list of approximately 3 dozen officers, most of whom are white men. The list goes straight to the Senate for final approval. 2 of the 4 officers are black, 2 are women. Hegseth pressed Army Secretary Daniel Driscoll for months to remove their names. Driscoll, to his credit, refused, citing their records of service. Hegseth then unilaterally struck their names off the list himself. The reasons given for individual removal, where any reason was given at all: 1 black officer was removed because he had written a paper years earlier examining why African American soldiers tend to choose support roles over frontline combat positions. He wrote a paper exploring a documented sociological pattern. His reward was to have his promotion blocked by a defense secretary. 1 of the women was removed because she served during the 2021 US withdrawal from Afghanistan, which Hegseth has described as, quote, disastrous and embarrassing, and which he has said he intends to hold officers accountable for. No performance grounds were cited, no conduct concerns. Their records of service, which earned them consideration for promotion in the first place, were not the issue. Their race and gender was. Under established military policy, the Defense Secretary is only supposed to approve or reject the entire promotion list, precisely to prevent individual targeting based on identity. Removing individual names unilaterally may well be illegal. NPR described it as, quote, a highly unusual and possibly even illegal move. The Pentagon spokesman response, quote, under Secretary Hegseth, military promotions are given to those who have earned them. Meritocracy, which reigns in this department, is apolitical and unbiased. The current chairman and vice chairman to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, all 5 service chiefs and 9 of the 10 combatant commanders are white men. The Defense Secretary, who claims meritocracy is apolitical, has fired or sidelined at least 2 dozen generals and admirals since taking office, including the 2nd African American ever to serve as chairman of the Joint Chiefs and the 1st woman to ever lead the US Navy. Neither received an explanation. The Pentagon spokesman used the word meritocracy, the same word the administration uses to justify every appointment and every removal. Meritocracy. The best person, the most qualified. The word is doing a specific job here. It's being used to make a discrimination sound like a principle. When the outcome of meritocracy is that every senior military leader is a white man, and the people removed from promotion lists are black and female, the word is not describing a process, it's concealing one. Senator Jack Reed, Democrat and ranking member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, confirmed he was investigating the allegations. Richard Brookshire of the Black Veterans Project is quoted as saying, the depth of Secretary Hegseth prejudice is only overshadowed by the breadth of his incompetence. Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat of Connecticut, put it directly on the Senate floor before the Hegseth vote. There were few Trump nominees, quote, as strategically dangerous and woefully unqualified as Hegseth. Senator Minority Leader Chuck Schumer called him, quote, one of the most erratic, unqualified and unfit cabinet nominees we have ever seen in modern times. They confirmed him anyway, with the Vice President's tie-breaking vote, and then moved on to the next one. Next, I'll talk briefly about the loyalty of competence over pattern. None of these nominations are accidents or oversights. The pattern is deliberate. People with independent expertise, established institutional loyalty to their agencies, or professional reputations that would constrain their behaviour in office are systematically excluded. People whose primary credentials is demonstrated as willingness to follow Trump's direction, regardless of the law, institutional norms, or professional standards, are systematically preferred. This is not a talent pipeline problem. It is a selection criterion problem. The criterion is compliance. Next, I'll talk about the Bureau replacing expertise. The pattern does not stop at cabinet level. The Department of Justice dismissed the head of its ethics office, the official responsible for providing senior administration officials with guidance on conflicts of interest, financial disclosures, and recusals. Senator Schiff led the Senate Judiciary Democrats in demanding an explanation. The letter they received contained no justification for the removal. The ethics responsibilities were transferred to 2 inexperienced political appointees. These are officials to whom the cabinet members such as Todd Blanche, Trump's former personal criminal defense attorney, now Deputy Attorney General, had promised to turn for guidance on whether to recuse themselves from cases involving their former client, the president. The career's ethics official who would have given that guidance has been fired. The people who replaced him are political appointees. Schiff's letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi noted the pattern, quote, "The latest dismissal of career ethics officials continues the department's systematic dismantling of its internal ethics safeguards under your watch, which further undermines public confidence and congressional trust in the department and its senior leadership." Bondi did not answer the letter. This is the third tier of the same strategy. Courts install young loyalists in lifetime positions. Cabinet install unqualified loyalists in leadership positions. Then bureaucracy remove experienced career officials from the institutional positions that provide constraint and replace them with political appointees who will not. The American system was designed with a specific theory that institutions are staffed by professionals with independent expertise and protected tenure, which would constrain arbitrary power. Independent judges, career law enforcement, non-partisan ethics officers. Each layer was designed to be harder to corrupt than a single individual. What is being dismantled systematically is precisely that theory of institutional constraint. Next, I'll talk about what builds. Take what has been described in this video and ask, what does it produce? Courts stacked with young loyalists who will issue rulings for 50 years. A defense secretary whose primary credential is loyalty to the president. An FBI director who published an enemies list and described turning FBI headquarters into a museum. An intelligence director who would not say whether a man who stole American secrets was a traitor. A health secretary whose own party scientists said would cost lives. An ethics apparatus systematically dismantled and replaced with political appointees. What does this build? It builds a system in which institutions designed to constrain presidential power are run by people who have pre-committed to not constraining it, not independently judging it, not professionally advising against it, and instead doing what they are told. Kash Patel's statement at his confirmation hearing that he would turn the FBI headquarters into, quote, museum of the deep state was widely reported. Less widely reported was the implication that the functional alternative to a museum is an active tool, an FBI no longer protecting the rule of law, but enforcing presidential preference. Senator Schiff sits on the Senate Judiciary Committee. He has pressed these nominees on their records, their qualifications, their independence. He has also, separately, been subject to an investigation pushed by Trump administration officials that career prosecutors in the relevant office have been reluctant to pursue. The Department of Justice examined the handling of that investigation after reports emerged of political pressure from Trump officials to proceed with charges. The investigation into a sitting senator who has been publicly critical of the president is ongoing. Connect the dots. An FBI director who publishes enemies. A Department of Justice with its career ethics officials removed. An investigation into the senator who has been most persistent in questioning these appointments. This is not a coincidence of events. It is a system. And the system being built? The appointment of loyalists over experts across courts, cabinet, and the bureaucracy is not chaotic or random. It is systematic. The outcome is a government in which every single institution that may constrain, investigate, or rule against the president is led by somebody who has demonstrated they will not. Independent judgment has been replaced, position by position, with compliance. That is not meritocracy. It is something else. Political science has a word for it. Okay, so in closing, meritocracy is a word America uses about itself constantly. The idea that position follows competence, that the best qualified person gets the role, that the system selects for capability, not connection. What this video has documented is a systematic departure from that principle, not isolated in appointments, but across the judiciary, the cabinet, and the federal bureaucracy, simultaneously at scale. The people being installed are not unqualified because Trump cannot find better candidates. The United States has no shortage of experienced judges, seasoned defense experts, or qualified public health administrators. The unqualified candidates are being selected precisely because qualification, in the form of independent expertise, professional reputation, and institutional loyalty, is a constraint. And the system being built does not want constraints. Senator Adam Schiff has been inside the confirmation hearings, asking the questions, reading the records. He wrote of Kash Patel that he was, quote, willing to do whatever Trump asks, illegal, unethical, or otherwise. That is not a political attack. It is an assessment of the selection criteria being applied. The lesson of history is that institutions matter, that the quality of people inside them determines what they do, and that an institution whose leadership has been selected for compliance rather than competence, independence, or integrity does not remain an institution, it becomes an instrument. The American public did not vote for this. They voted for a candidate. The candidate is installing a system, and the system will outlast the candidate because the judges will still be there in 50 years. That is the loyalty test, and the American people are the ones taking it. If this video made you think, please like and subscribe, and thank you.